And we do have some breaking news that we want to bring to you. It was being reported by TMZ and now Fox News. We are learning that Jay-Z is accused of a 13-year-old girl. That is new in the Diddy lawsuit.
You thought Lori Harvey was just another gorgeous face tangled up in Beyonce's legendary storm, right? Oh, if only it were that simple. What's bubbling up now goes way deeper and way darker than anyone expected. Picture this. That little flirty moment at the Rock Nation brunch in 2019, that was just the spark that lit something way more twisted. See, Lori wasn't just dating Diddy during their romance phase. Nah, the word on the street is she was being passed around at his wild private parties like some kind of VIP guest nobody could ignore. And guess who insiders say wasn't just hanging out in the background? Jay-Z himself. Yep, rumors say he was one of the main acts at those secret events, not just an innocent bystander. Now here's where things explode. People thought Beyonce's glare in that viral clip, where Lori batted her lashes at Jay, was just a jealous reaction. But insiders are saying she already knew way more than she ever let on. What the streets whisper is that Bey wasn't just angry. She was informed. Because this whole mess isn't about simple cheating. It's about power, control, and reputation. And Lori suddenly locking down her socials? That wasn't about fans flooding her comments with bee emojis. That was the move of a woman who knows she's sitting on dangerous secrets, and that every post could blow things up. So the question is, what advice did she get before pulling that plug? Let's spin it back to that Rock Nation brunch for a second. Because the way this story's been told, you'd think Lori Harvey just accidentally caught Jay-Z's eye while Beyonce was out there owning the room in that jaw-dropping outfit. But come on now. Nothing in Diddy's world ever happens by coincidence. Sources close to the scene claim Lori wasn't just another guest. She was placed there, like a piece in Diddy's long-running chess game that's been moving behind the scenes for years. And Jay-Z? Word is, he wasn't just chatting her up for small talk. He was allegedly getting a little too familiar, like he was testing the merchandise. You remember when that photo dropped online and the internet lost its mind? The beehive went wild. Lori's comments got flooded with bees, stingers, and warning emojis. And then suddenly, boom, Lori shut it all down like her reputation was on the line. But what if that wasn't just fan chaos? What if that was damage control? A scramble to hide the truth before it could leak? Someone, somewhere, clearly didn't want those whispers turning into headlines. And the moment Lori unfollowed Diddy right after that blow-up, that didn't look like coincidence. It looked like strategy. Like she was cutting ties fast before the whole thing could explode and drag her under with it. And here's where things twist even deeper, because Lori wasn't Diddy's first project. And insiders say she won't be the last. This man's allegedly been using access as his currency for years, where women think they're getting close to real power, but end up realizing they're the ones being passed around like bargaining chips. It's a game with no rules, and Diddy's always the one cashing in. We've seen this movie play out before, haven't we? Cassie Ventura, Adrienne, English, the list just keeps stacking up. They all started as Diddy's so-called muses and ended up as walking caution signs. And then came Lori Harvey, the perfect candidate, gorgeous, already in the spotlight, and connected to one of the most famous talk show hosts in the country. But here's where it gets cold. Steve Harvey's been silent.
What's the best advice they've given you?
Just remember that you're the prize at all times.
Boom.
Best advice.
No press statements, no protective dad speeches, no fiery, don't mess with my daughter moments, nothing but crickets. And let's be honest, in a family as outspoken as the Harveys, that silence isn't peaceful, it's suspicious. People are starting to whisper. Did Steve know what Lori was getting dragged into? Or was he just looking the other way because the perks of staying quiet were too sweet to turn down? The whole thing feels shady, like everyone's pretending not to see the smoke while the house burns right behind them. And then there's Beyonce, the queen herself, the woman who turned heartbreak into art, who made the world believe she could take pain, bottle it, and turn it into power. But what if this time it's not about forgiveness at all? What if it's about strategy? Because let's be real. Beyonce doesn't move without a plan. She doesn't just react to drama, she controls it. So if the rumors hold weight, and Jay-Z was actually tangled up in Diddy's twisted little circle, then this isn't just a marriage that's hurting. It's a full-blown empire that could be on the verge of cracking wide open. This right here feels like a career-ending play. No exaggeration. Think about it. Beyonce's got a global tour on the horizon, a legendary name to protect, and 3 kids who see everything she does. You really think she's about to let Jay-Z drag her reputation through the mud again? Or maybe she's sitting back, quiet but calculated, waiting for the perfect moment to slam that hammer down when the world least expects it. Because one thing's for sure, Beyonce doesn't fight messy battles in the streets. She fights in the court of public opinion, and every single time she walks away with the win. Her silence? That's not weakness. It's a warning. When she finally speaks, it's never just words, it's power. But here's what nobody's asking. What happens after the music fades? When the lights cut off, the champagne runs dry, and all that's left are those receipts that won't disappear no matter how many NDAs were signed? Diddy might be behind bars now, but that empire he built, it's still spinning, still operating, still protecting its own. And Jay-Z? Insiders say the feds are circling closer every week. The lawsuits keep stacking, and every time a new document leaks, another familiar name gets dragged out into the open. So while everyone's distracted by Lori's glamorous smile and Beyonce's next chess move, the real story might be sitting right in front of us. This isn't just about Lori, Jay-Z, or even Diddy. It's about an entire machine built on power, silence, and control. And if Lori Harvey was allegedly just another piece in this twisted puzzle, then who's the next one waiting to be exposed? Because one thing's for sure, the party's over. And the cleanup that's coming? Oh, it's about to get messy. Let's rewind and talk about those famous parties for a minute. The ones everyone in the industry whispers about but never dares to discuss out loud. The white parties, the secret after-hours bashes, the so-called freak-offs that Diddy turned into his personal trademark. But what if those nights weren't just wild celebrity scenes? What if they were auditions for something far more disturbing? See, here's the thing about Diddy. He didn't just host parties, he crafted them like a casting call. That guest list wasn't random. It was curated down to every name. It wasn't about who was trending. It was about who could be used. Sure, you had the heavy hitters, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Usher, all the A-listers you'd expect. But right there beside them were the hungry newcomers, the dreamers, the ones chasing fame with more ambition than money, the girls ready to do whatever it took just to get noticed. And Lori Harvey? She fit the mold like it was made for her. Young, ambitious, well-connected, and photogenic enough to make headlines just by showing up. The kind of woman who'd be treated to luxury, whispered sweet promises, then allegedly passed around like an appetizer at a five-star dinner. And let's not fool ourselves. This isn't new. Those rumors have been floating for years.
Back to the evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right? More than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right, in addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her.
People have talked about Diddy's private events, the strict NDAs, the high-profile guests, and the girls who showed up glowing and left looking shaken, like they'd seen something they were never supposed to see. But nobody talked, not for real, because in this business, silence isn't just golden, it's required. You want a record deal? Keep your mouth shut. You want that big role in the next video? Don't ask questions. Everyone knows the rules. Speak up and you'll get shut down. Just ask Cassie Ventura, Adria English, or any of the other women who tried to step forward. They ended up facing lawsuits, smear campaigns, and careers suddenly put on pause. That's the thing about power. It doesn't just control the spotlight, it controls who gets to survive in it. Power doesn't just protect itself, it destroys anything that dares to threaten it. And that's exactly what's happening now. Diddy's sitting in jail, but Jay-Z, oh, he's sweating bullets. The walls are closing in fast, and the one person who could truly bring him down isn't a lawyer, a judge, or even the FBI, it's his own wife. Because if Beyonce's taught the world anything, it's this. She doesn't just leave a man, she erases him. When she's done, it's like you never existed. So while the internet argues over whether Lori Harvey's the victim or the villain in all this chaos, the real question people should be asking is, what does Beyonce know? And even more chilling, what is she planning to do with it? Because when it comes to the Carters, one thing's guaranteed. They don't crumble under pressure, they calculate. They don't lose, they strategize. And if Jay-Z's name ends up printed right next to Diddy's on those explosive court documents, then you better believe Beyonce's already 10 moves ahead, setting the board for her next big play. And when she finally makes her move, oh honey, it won't be some messy scandal. It'll be a straight-up massacre. Every headline, every whisper, every brand partnership, she'll flip it all into her next masterpiece while Jay's empire starts to crumble. But to really understand how deep this goes, we've got to rewind to the very beginning, because this saga didn't start with Lori Harvey. No way. It started long before that. Back when Diddy was still Puff Daddy and Jay-Z was just another hungry rapper from Brooklyn chasing his shot at greatness. These two didn't just rise together, they ruled together. And the way they built that empire, let's just say, it wasn't written in ink. It was written in blood. The 90s music scene was wild. No rules, no limits, and power was the only law that mattered. You wanted in on the game? Well, back then, you had to play it. And Diddy didn't just play, he owned it. Bad Boy Records wasn't just a label. It was a whole empire built from the ground up. But let's be real, empires like that aren't built on pure talent. They're built on secrets, loyalty, and a little bit of fear. Remember that nightclub shooting back in '99? Yeah, the one where Diddy walked out clean while his protege, Shine, ended up taking the fall? Or that same year when Jay-Z got caught up in that infamous stabbing incident only to walk away with probation like it was nothing? Coincidence? Please! These men didn't just dodge trouble, they capitalized on it. In their world, a criminal charge isn't a setback, it's a badge of honor. A twisted kind of street credibility that says, I'm untouchable. And the more you beat the system, the stronger your power gets. That's the unspoken code of the industry. So when we hear the whispers about those parties, the women, the private events, and the disturbing allegations that have followed them for decades, it forces a question. Was this ever really about the music? Or was the music just the cover story for something darker? Something built on control, silence, and power. And speaking of power, let's get real for a second. It wasn't just about what these men allegedly did. It was about how everyone else let them keep doing it. The industry looked the other way. The media glamorized it as part of the lifestyle. And fans like us, we bought in completely. We streamed their songs, wore the merch, quoted their lyrics, and helped turn them into living legends. But now, with all these stories finally surfacing, the spotlight's shifting, and that same fame that once protected them, it might just be what finally brings it all crashing down. And now here we are, acting shocked as the receipts start rolling in. But let's be honest with ourselves. We knew. Maybe we didn't have the exact details or the full list of names and dates, but deep down, we felt it. That uneasy gut feeling every time another headline dropped, every time another woman spoke up, every time one of those exclusive parties ended in silence instead of celebration. We knew something wasn't right. So now when we look at Lori Harvey, when we see her lockdown Instagram, the deleted comments, and that eerie silence, it makes you wonder, what's she really afraid of?
In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
Is she dodging the Beehive's wrath, or is she running from something much darker? Because yeah, the Beehive can be intense, but they don't have the kind of reach that Diddy does. They don't have the network, the lawyers, or the kind of money that can make problems disappear overnight. If Lori really was connected to Diddy's inner circle, if those whispers about her being passed around have even a hint of truth, then her silence might not be about angry fans at all. It might be about survival, because the people she's dealing with, they're not influencers. They're the gatekeepers, the ones who've controlled the music industry for decades, keeping the truth buried under NDAs, payoffs, and fear. These men have lawyers on speed dial, media contacts in their pockets, and a reputation built on making sure no one talks. And yet, there's one name that still has the power to shake that entire foundation. Beyonce. She's not just Jay-Z's wife or a superstar mom, she's a billionaire, a brand, a force. And if the whispers are true that she's finally had enough, then the industry better brace itself. Because when Beyonce gets angry, she doesn't just clap back, she changes the game. So while the world's busy arguing over whether Lori Harvey's a victim or a willing player in the game, and while the gossip blogs keep obsessing over who smiled at who, Beyonce's out here playing chess, not checkers. And if Jay-Z's name really shows up in those lawsuits, if the FBI is actually circling the empire they built together, then trust and believe, she's not just thinking about walking away. She's thinking about wiping the slate clean. Because this isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's the kind of storm that could take down a dynasty. And when the queen decides she's done protecting her throne, oh honey, she doesn't just file for divorce. She detonates. This isn't about heartbreak anymore, it's about power. Because when Beyonce holds the match, nothing and no one survives the flames. And let's not act like this is brand new. The industry's been playing this dirty game for decades. To really see how deep it goes, you've got to rewind to the early 2000s, when the music scene was running on smoke, mirrors, and backroom deals that would make anyone's stomach turn. Picture this, a young teenage girl, bright-eyed, chasing her dreams, somehow ends up at one of Diddy's legendary after-parties. She's handed a drink, something sweet, something strong, and before she knows it, she wakes up somewhere she doesn't recognize. She's not alone. Standing there are two of the biggest power players in the game, men who controlled the charts, the money, and the silence. You've heard the lawsuits, the denials, the official statements polished by PR teams. But let's pause and ask the real question. What kind of man looks at someone so young and sees an opportunity? And even worse, what kind of industry lets that happen over and over while pretending not to see it? This wasn't just one dark story swept under the rug. It was the blueprint, the model the industry followed for years, where power protected power, and the victims were left with nothing but fear and broken dreams. And if Beyoncé's really ready to expose it all, then this might be the moment the entire house of cards finally collapses. And if you thought that was bad, just wait until we get into the infamous white parties, those so-called exclusive gatherings where Diddy played the role of kingmaker, and the real price of admission wasn't just a designer outfit or a famous last name. It was your silence. These weren't glamorous soirees. They were traps dressed up in luxury. Insiders say that behind those gates, the music got loud, the lights got low, and things turned dark real fast. Rumors swirl that underage guests were allegedly served spiked drinks, their welcome to the industry moments turning into something twisted. What some called a rite of passage was allegedly nothing short of a nightmare disguised as opportunity. And the lawsuits? They all tell the same chilling story. A teenage boy promised fame, pulled into a private room, and told to prove he had what it took. A security guard saying he was taken advantage of after the drinks hit harder than expected at a 2006 party that was supposed to be legendary. And Adria English, she's spoken about being pulled into that same world, saying she was groomed into dark situations at events where champagne and control flowed in equal measure. It paints a picture that's impossible to ignore. A world where power protected the predators and silence was the only currency that mattered. So think about it. If this was the culture back in the early 2000s, if this was what exclusive really meant back then, what was going on in 2019 when Lori Harvey showed up to that Rock Nation brunch smiling for the cameras, with Diddy right there behind her, hand on her back like everything was just fine? Because here's where things get even uglier. This wasn't just one man's dark obsession or a string of bad choices. No, this was a system, a twisted network where power, fame, and fear kept everyone in line. And the ones who tried to break free, they were erased before their voices ever reached the mic. It wasn't just Diddy's dark secret, it was the industry's open one. And trust, the receipts are out there.
And you can't live your life based on like what other people are gonna think, how other people are gonna feel, because at the end of the day, it's you, it's your life. Right. So it's gonna make you happy.
Remember when Usher went on the Howard Stern show and casually mentioned the strange things he saw at Diddy's house when he was just 13 years old? The parties, the doors you didn't dare open, and the lessons no kid should ever have to learn. It sounded like gossip at first, but looking back now, those confessions hit a whole lot different. And let's not forget Justin Bieber, the golden boy of pop. He once joked on camera about spending 48 hours with Diddy at age 15, saying they were gonna get some girls, while Diddy laughed and smirked, saying, "Everything ain't for everybody." That clip might have seemed harmless years ago, but funny how it suddenly started resurfacing right after the FBI raids, huh? Then there was Khloe Kardashian, who casually dropped on Keeping Up with the Kardashians that she'd attended one of Diddy's naked parties. And guess who she claimed was there too? Yep, Justin Bieber. What was a teenager doing at a party like that? It's a question nobody in Hollywood seems eager to answer. So let's ask what others won't. Was Justin just an invited guest? Or was he being groomed for a role in this twisted network of power and control? Because if even a fraction of these claims are true, this wasn't about music or mentorship. It was about manipulation. And speaking of evidence, let's talk about what the FBI actually uncovered when they finally raided Diddy's mansions last year. Reports said it wasn't just some private videos or suspicious messages. It was boxes of shocking stuff, over 1,000 bottles of party supplies that could fill an entire pharmacy, and an arsenal of high-powered weapons stashed around the property. And that's just what they admitted to finding. So it makes you wonder, what else is still hidden in those walls? What's locked away in those hard drives, buried in those safety deposit boxes, or trapped in the memories of people who've been paid and pressured to stay silent? Because if what the feds found was only the surface, what's buried underneath might be worse than anyone imagined. And now here we are, in the present day. Diddy sitting in a jail cell, Jay-Z's lawyers working overtime trying to keep him out of one, and yet the machine they built, it's still humming along smoothly, the music's still playing, the money's still moving, and the silence, it's still deafening. But the question is, how long can an empire built on secrets survive once the truth starts pouring out? Lori Harvey might have wiped her Instagram clean, but let's be real. Those photos aren't going anywhere. Her arm wrapped tight around Diddy's waist, That carefree laugh caught on camera at an event where the real business was happening far from the flashing lights. Every image tells a story, and this one's got layers. And Steve Harvey? Still silent. Not a single word, not a hint of that trademark confidence he brings to every show. Because what can you say when your stepdaughter's name is caught in the middle of one of the biggest scandals the industry's ever seen? Do you defend her and risk getting dragged into the fire too? Do you back away quietly and hope it fades before the next season of Family Feud? Or do you just pray the headlines move on before anyone starts asking the real questions? Meanwhile, Beyonce's watching, and don't get it twisted, this isn't just about her marriage anymore. This is about her legacy, her brand, her empire. Because if there's one thing we've learned about Queen Bey, it's that she doesn't let anyone, not even her husband, play with her crown. When her reputation's on the line, she doesn't just protect it. She rebuilds the whole kingdom to make sure no one can touch it again. But here's the part that should keep everyone awake at night. This mess isn't just about Lori, or Diddy, or Jay-Z, or even Beyonce. It's about the entire system, a world built on silence, image, and control, where young women are treated like bargaining chips, and keeping quiet is the cost of entry. For decades, this industry has thrived off power plays hidden behind luxury, fame, and influence. And now that the cracks are showing, it's clear. The real story isn't just who got caught. It's about who's been running the game all along, and how far they'll go to make sure no one ever tells the truth. Right now, the power's shifting, and you can feel it. Diddy's behind bars, but the machine he built, it's still running like nothing happened. The parties haven't stopped, the champagne's still popping, and the cameras keep flashing while those same smiles hide stories we're only beginning to uncover. So while everyone's arguing about who knew what and when, we need to focus on the real question. Who's next? Because if Lori Harvey was allegedly just another name on that secret list, then who's stepping into that VIP section tonight, unaware of what they're really walking into? That's the question no one in Hollywood wants to answer. But the silence? It's screaming louder than ever. And that brings us to the end of this chapter. But don't get it twisted, the story's far from over. The lawsuits are stacking higher every week. The FBI is still digging deep, and Beyonce, she's watching it all unfold. And trust, when she decides to make her move, the world's gonna feel the tremor. When she strikes, it won't be subtle, it'll be seismic. So tell me, what do you think she's waiting for? And even more chilling, who's terrified of what she might already know? Because in this game, the most dangerous thing isn't the truth. It's the person who's been smart enough to hide it all this time. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, because nothing in this world of fame and fortune happens by accident. And if we've learned one thing, it's that every smile, every photo, every innocent moment might be part of something way bigger than we realize. Now, before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear what you think. Who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Keep your eyes open and your comments spicy, because we'll be watching.